So when I went in the second time, because Mr. Todd said, look, just go in and try this again, so we get it again. And the second time I tried to leave out, like, I thought maybe we forgot something. When you do the assurances on the portal, and when you don't click a box, and you hit submit, it immediately shows a red flag and says, required, something required does not get input.
Right.
And then to go to your error, click and you have to hit control click. So when I did it the second time, I thought, I'm going to read the address out. Everything, it all populated. It's also told me it was done. Because the first time it was not populated.
Right.
It was all populated the second time. I went up and deleted our address, just our street address. And you hit submit, and then a red flag, and submit, and then an error. You hit control and click, and it takes you right to the address. You have to put the address. So I don't know what the.
Yeah, well, they didn't seem to want to take the blame for it.
Oh, no. Well,
Because all the other, like Damon and all of them said that they got confirmations too.
yes, he said that he has also had hard copies of their, thank God we got confirmation. We always do, even with our grants. When you submit anything in the portal, the last page it will tell you that whether your submission is 100% or not. So you always print that out and attach it.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that will come.
I read something that was just comments in the page. Something about it's illegal to go 5 days a week to school.
No, that's the expectation. If you can't do so,
Yeah.
and have the room, that's what's great about a small school.
Right.
Because you
Right.
can't. No, that's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I wonder if we're going to do like that. Because I don't think, he's been pretty old with us now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. And another thing about the schools is on 5 o'clock news, like IHC has a wait list for their school for kids to get in, and then like an hour or 2 hours ago on Facebook, they advertised that they had openings for 7 through 12. So it didn't even make sense. Not that Facebook is really efficient.
Like dial this or
No, part of that.
stuff.
Good evening, everyone. This is Chris with Morick. How we doing?
Yeah, I think that's because they want their parents want their kids to go full time.
Yeah, that's what they said,
So they're
because,
paying for it.
yeah, because,
They want their kids to go home. How do they have to work?
but Mr. Athletic Director, how many kids are they bringing from outside, like, from where, for these sports and stuff?
They're not going to play sports.
Right,
Well, they're not gonna.
but they're not in the Frontier League this year.
Did they leave?
They forfeited that because they recruited like 10 players to play soccer. And they're out of county, are they out of,
They're playing Syracuse.
yeah, so they're playing Syracuse and Rochester and all these other schools. So they're still gonna
They're
play.
doing club sport then.
Yeah, so,
2 minutes.
Yeah. I didn't see anything on Twitter as well.
well, when they interviewed O'Brien, that's what he said. He said, we'll have sacrificed Frontier League teams for a year because of it.
Everyone.
Salary or whatever it is. So, nice that, in those meetings, that it actually says who she is.
Yeah, it's big though.
Yeah.
You don't even know her because.
Well, she looks a little different in person.
Yeah, she does. A little like a picnic.
Okay, let's try this again. Is this any better?
He's all set whenever you're ready. Just, I gotta let him know so he can.
All right, what's our flag? Oh, yeah. I know, right?
Just let me know when you're ready so I can tell him.
Like call meetings order, please stand for the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. The president of the board and the vice president are not here, so the board clerk and I will form the meeting and we will go through the agenda for the board members. We'll start with the consent agenda. A motion for approval of the following items as listed under the consent agenda.
I'll motion.
Motion by Kathy,
Second.
second by Scott. All approved? 5-0. Discussion items? On the regular agenda. If there are any public comments, if anyone has anything that they would like to share with the board, they certainly can email and we will address those questions. Ongoing agenda items, updates regarding the reopening of school. As you are aware, we will be having our first public meeting, and that will begin at 6:45 this evening. Board information. The NISBA annual conference. The conference originally was scheduled for October 29th through 31st, 2020. Will now be held virtually over a 2-week period. Dates and times for the virtual convention to be announced soon. Information to be forwarded to board members once received. Also included was the Pivot 2019-20 second semester report. Number 5, board information, LCS events. September 2nd and 3rd is currently being slotted for superintendent conference days from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. September 8th, 2020, school starts. We will be reopening with phase 2, which will bring our grades K through 3 students in person. Grades 4 through 12 will be on remote instruction. We have a board action item. Action is requested to approve Morif OC Zoom Communications Video Conferencing Services for the 2020-2021 school year. Motion by Terry, second by John. All approved? And the motion passes. Board action is requested to approve the 2020-2021 Lyme Central School Teachers Association negotiation MOU reflecting a 1-year contract extension. We did that in lieu of finishing because of the current pandemic. The only significant change in that was the 3.25% increase, which is consistent with what the teachers were receiving.
As a teachers association,
I'm sorry?
as a teachers association.
They did. We tentatively signed, and then once the board approved it, it went into effect. Motion for approval, please. Okay. Motion by Ray, second. Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you. Action is requested to approve a donation to the Lyme School District Scholarship Fund in memory of Eugene Derfinko, as listed below. It's $10,000. Motion by Scott. Second by John. All in favor? And the motion carries. Action is requested to approve a donation to the Lyme Central School Varsity Club for the JV boys basketball team in honor of Mr. James Morrow as listed below. It's from Neighbors of Watertown, and it's my understanding that Mr. Morrow works there, and upon his retirement, his colleagues put together a donation for him. He chose to donate that to the JV boys basketball team, which will be overseen by the girls. So that's very nice. Motion for approval. Okay. John, second. Approval by all. And the motion carries. Be it resolved that the Lyme Central School District and the Board of Education takes action to approve a resolution for the retention and disposition schedule of the New York local government records as stated below. Motion for approval.
I don't know.
These are, so we have records retention and we follow the schedule. Some of that, those records are kept for 7 years, 5 years.
Oh, 10 years.
Then there are items that once they reach, the limit of time that we have to keep those, we dispose of those.
Sure, okay. Right. I didn't know we had that.
It's, yeah, standard aging. Motion for approval? Kathy? Second by Scott. All in favor? Motion passes. Be it resolved that the Lyme Central School District Board of Education takes action to approve the resolution by roll call for the contribution of funds to the following reserve fund upon completion of the June 30, 2020 end of year fiscal bookkeeping. Do you have something to add to that?
Actually, I also need to make a correction. The repair reserve fund, I put in the correct amount it will be by funding it. We have to repay it when we use it for emergency funding, which we did for the fuel depot repair. You have to repay that. And so by putting in the $5,500, that was the expense for the fuel depot repair. It'll bring the fund amount to $244.14. But what I should have put, when we made resolution to establish the reserve, it's for up to $300,000. So that 244 should read up to $300,000. The reserve amount, which is in the new reserve plan, will currently be 244,414. Each of these reserves will change by small amounts as we are adding interest to them. The retirement reserve fund, when we discussed with the auditors about the reserve fund, each year you can put in 2% of the prior year's salaries. And so they recommended we do that because the rates will be increasing. And what that reserve does is help offset the employer's contribution rate to pay on salaries. So when we do that additional 49,000, which is 2% of last year's salaries, it'll bring that reserve to 95,000, and then there will be interest added throughout the year on the one.
Susie, is it possible when you do the monthly financials, you see the treasurer report in the morning, could you tack on all the reserve funds and just show the balances on a monthly basis?
Absolutely.
Just so I can keep track of where we're at.
Absolutely. Very, very easy to do. We can add that to the financial.
We got like 7.
Yeah, all of the ones that we are committed to have, we currently, yes. Okay, motion for approval? Okay. Oh, actually, we're going to do roll call, sorry about that. We'll do roll call first, Terry Countryman. Yes. Kathy Gardner. Yes. John Montgomery. Thank you. Scott Rickett. Yes. And Rick Anderson. And Mrs. Lothrop and Mrs. Riker are excused. So motion for approval by Scott and seconded by Kathy. The motion passes. Board action is requested to approve an equipment disposal request from the Science Department submitted by Deborah Wilkinson for the disposal of the following books deemed outdated and or no longer usable. There are 245 total items listed to be sold or donated if possible. So the business office is looking into, there are companies that will purchase used books. We're not sure if during the pandemic that will still be an option. In addition to that, we do contact schools in the area, public schools, and see if they're interested in those items. And we do try to donate those whenever possible. So we will look into that. Motion for approval by John, seconded by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. And the motion passes. Action is requested to approve the Jefferson Lewis School Board Association dues for the 2020-2021 school year. Do you know what they are, how much they are? Sorry. I saw that, but I don't know. I think
It's
so.
like 200 and something.
Did it go up or no?
I think it was minimum.
Okay. 250. Thank you. Motion for approval, please. Scott? Seconded by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. And the motion passes. Administrative reports. Mr. Davis, do you have any?
I guess I want to share that I'm so proud of our school. The teachers, the faculty, the staff, they are working hours and hours trying to open our place for our kids. And it is no easy task. Every step, and I joke, literally every step that you see on the hall has to be orchestrated. And I said to the group I was working today, it's like creating a new school. Much as I don't know if you can, it's so difficult when you're in this, and everything that I knew about what we do, I have to modify and change and all those things. The staff, today the simple thing is, wording in the student handbook. And it said something about being here physically. Well, if we go through our other two options, you're not here physically. Still have to abide by those things. So everything that that I've known for 30-some years, I have to look at it from a different lens. Thank God we have some great people who work. And that's it. I'm praying for the beginning of school.
I don't have anything additional at this time. I'll be going through a lot of information at our meeting at 6:45. Does anyone have any questions or in regards to the opening or anything? Sure, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So what we've done to limit, obviously, any additional people coming into the district, we have our tax season just about to start. So we purchased a lot box that we put outside the front door and check them off all times during the day. It's also going to be on the tax bills. The tax bill is going to look a little different. The county has contracted with a company that solely does tax bills. They're going to do the printing this year and the mailing directly to all the parcels in the town. And hopefully they'll see the second page is going to be the payments, whether you're doing full or you're doing installments. That's going to be the second page of it. There'll still be the payment comes to school until the drop dead date, and then if you're doing installments, first one comes to school, the second two go to the county. We always have a lot of people that like to come in personally and pay their taxes. We still expect them they'll be coming, even though it says drop it. So we'll put on our masks, go down, and take it from them. If they need a copy of the bill, they'll run back to the office and print out the bill, because some people just lose their bills or maybe never got them in the mail. So we'll work around it, but that lockbox is hopefully going to work well for us.
Is that going to be down here or?
It is down there.
Oh,
It's already out there. We have ordered signs too. All of our entrances are changing course, and we're required to have certain entrances for students, certain entrances for staff. And so, Mr. Sage and I worked on renaming those doors. For instance, for the cafeteria, supplies come in. That's how our staff will start coming in. The building is off the parking lot. We do have the door that's by the library, not in the library, but the one just before you get to the library, to the right, there's the fire stereo. That will be where pickups are done if there's a child going home, because of an illness or they're not feeling well or going to the doctor's appointment. So we'll have all of those doors that we use as exit only. Will be marked for certain students. For instance, down by the elementary hallway, only elementary students will be leaving through those doors. So we're trying to keep the cohorts and the grade levels clustered so that we're not intermingling the students as possible. A lot of work went into that.
Is that box underneath the canopy or is it?
It is. It's underneath the canopy and it's hooked right into the wall. We do have cameras out there as well. Okay. Anything else? Correspondence and communications. And there, items for the next meeting. It will. Let's fingers crossed. Yes.
Of the audit, show up.
The audit.
So we're still working remotely with them. It's gone really well. We've gotten through all but 2 funds where we haven't yet been able to wrap up the debt service fund and the fixed assets because we're waiting on information that has to be published by the employees retirement system. And that becomes part of the financials and the fund itself. So when we get that letter, I just checked today, it's not for show, but that letter gives values, actuarial values that go through March. So it ends in March, and the last letter that's posted is March of 2019. So we're just waiting on that, and they've been wonderful doing it remotely. Anything they ask for, Ariana is magical with uploading everything and accessing the share file and getting things to them immediately. So we have good response back and forth, and for the first time going completely remotely so far, it's gone really well.
We asked actually when we were here, well, they weren't here. We had a meeting. I asked, if you'll ever go back to, if we're allowed to, will we go back to those normal in-person audits? And the response was probably not entirely. I think they've been pleased with how well this has gone, and they did indicate that they miss seeing people. You know, they do make connections with the auditors as they come and they do like the face-to-face. They like to see who they talk to on the phone frequently, but I suspect we probably won't entirely go back full face-to-face.
I think that'll be true for a lot of us.
I would think that's
Like
correct.
some of the programs, even though we went home to work in March, and the bosses are talking about never bringing it back, they're all working from home. It's all online.
So,
I think
they even did the inventory.
These ones, I think, that they, actually, they're all at home.
I think there's going to be a lot of that. Certainly will. Okay. Is there anything else anyone has on the order? All right. There being no further business or discussion, a motion is requested to adjourn the regular meeting. At this time, the Board of Education meeting will be closed, and a virtual public meeting will be conducted with parents, community members, and stakeholders at 6:45 to address and discuss questions regarding the school reopening plan. Motion to close the meeting. Kathy? Second? Scott? All in favor? Motion approved. Time adjourned, 6:22. We'll see everyone at 6:45.
How's that working? It's just answer discussions over the.
Yes, it will be, so I'm on the agenda, which I'll pass out to you. And, I'm really, these are just some, talking points. So I'll talk a little bit about each of these items, and then we'll stop, and the individuals watching, will be able to chat, and, they'll type out, a question. And then when we get to, so I'll talk a little bit about, some things that administration or the teachers decided that we should pick up on again. And then we'll take questions on that section. And then we'll go down and talk about something else. And then we'll take questions on, so we'll stop in between to try to get those questions. What I put on the bottom of this is posted on the website as well, so if you can see this. Certainly, at the end, we can talk about anything. It is recorded. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and we are going to
You
use,
can access it through the home.
you can access it. The link, it's the same link that you use to get on the board. It's right on the home page. And then we'll take the questions from the report, will be recorded, and this is also for you also take notes. creating a Q&A document based on, we had a session with the teachers, so we started with questions that the teachers had and our responses to those, and we'll do the same with the community members. I received a few emails from parents, and I've given responses, email responses to those individuals, but to also let them know that those questions, they won't say they came from
Right.
that department. So then everyone has something to refer to.
And then there's 2 more after this.
There are 2 more, yes, and we'll talk about that, and so hopefully, so this is, I talked to some of my colleagues that, have had theirs and asked about how long. Most of them said, about a half an hour they went through items. I know Mr. Bashaw
It's
had,
an hour.
yeah, he did a full PowerPoint and, but I didn't think that was necessary because we've already shared out the full plan. Some districts shared out a very abbreviated, plan, really,
That's what TI did originally. It was
yeah,
one
2
page.
pages.
It was 3 columns, and that was sent out to us. The big plan, it was more in depth. It's
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint to that. But yeah, the plan itself wasn't.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Any answer on the numbers?
numbers of attendance.
It'll be in Zoom meeting.
We have the availability, can it take up to 500 people? The Zoom meeting? Yeah, so I have no way of knowing, we'll know, I think that he can tell, right? That there he can tell. Oh, good.
There works out.
Says 18, but now I have to take 2, but. Is that different?
Well, your subscribers are ones that want this, that really don't.
Oh, right there, it says. It was 7. Okay. 6.
now when you
But
have,
they'll come back towards.
you're gonna have boot camp with, students coming in. Are you gonna take like a video or on you put the hallways or the parents can see how?
It's already on
It's up, yeah.
That's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I put 2 on Facebook also.
yeah, I watched the video of kids entering school today.
I don't
I
have.
watched that one,
Right.
and I saw, yeah.
The 2 that I put on Facebook is how to prepare your children for school. The other one is how to come into school.
All right.
Yeah, my wife saw, what's her name, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's using her.
Yeah. And then this is, you had, this is Lincoln through the temperature thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the next ones we have is what a classroom will look like for parents. That'll be another one of them. And, what entrance is the kids to do
So there are, obviously, we'll do as many personal videos as possible for our families, but we're also including, BOCES has a lot of really great, informational videos, and, everyone's doing that right now. So we'll include a lot of those on there, they'll have more than, take a while. And our staff.
Well, the board meeting is still being recorded.
I'm sorry.
It's still being recorded.
You're still live.
Really?
This is Kevin's just on. Said we all did a great job.
that shows all of it.
Yes, it did. That's all right. I mean, I think maybe that'll help, people have
And
You
this
show the TV. That's the only.
I know, initially I was gonna stay, but I'm going to watch it all night, that junior, like, Mr. Doctor. I almost called out and then they came to live again, I was like, oh, crap, okay, now, it's gonna be a short week, so I'm good, I'm just, yeah. Yeah, I'll be watching from home. I'll let you with questions. Well, I do know, talking to Deanna and Sean, because they were, or not, Jen. They, somebody even said that we have when we started on the eighth, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's what I
Yes,
told.
take care. That was wonderful about Mr. B. I didn't know about that. That was a nice surprise to me. You know, now we need it. There's no money in that. Is it 6 birthday?
Let's see.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We are going to start our first community meeting in regard to our reopening plan. With me this evening, I have Dr. John Fania, I have our school nurse, Justine Dow, the board clerk and my secretary, Sherry Wilson, and our building principal, Barry Davis. And we are looking forward to sharing some of the details regarding our reopening plan. And we're going to ask that if you have questions, you utilize the chat feature. And we will stop periodically throughout the presentation to answer your questions. All of the questions that are asked this evening and through emails that I've received or we have received, or through our other meetings that are scheduled for a little bit later this month, will be put in a Q&A document, and they'll be posted so that you will have those as reference documents. So we're going to get started by telling you that we will have 2 additional meetings. The first of the next 2 will be scheduled on August 18th, and that'll be at 11 in the morning on August 18th. And then we have another one scheduled for August 20th. That will be scheduled at 5 p.m. We anticipate that both of those meetings will be 45 minutes to an hour long. But again, if at any time you have questions that have not been addressed or you don't have an opportunity to join in on one of those meetings, you may call or email us at any time. So the information that we're sharing this evening is based on guidance and decisions that have been made as of today. And so as a disclaimer, all information is subject to change with little to no notice. And that is relevant because, as we have all experienced throughout this pandemic, we get guidance from the Department of Health, from the governor's office, from SED frequently. Sometimes guidance changes daily. So we will do our best to keep you updated, and we'll let you know as those decisions change based on that guidance. So this evening, you will find, I hope you saw on the website, there is an agenda and there are just some discussion topics. This is meant to be a very fluid conversation. You've already had access to our plan. And again, you may ask us any questions pertaining to that, and we'll try to answer those questions. Accessing the district's reopening portal. If you get on the district website, you'll see a section right up at the top where you can click, and that will take you to our district reopening portal. In that portal, we are housing all information, communication from the nurse, guidance from the state, from the Department of Health, from CDC. There will be expectations for students in there. There will be all kinds of information, videos, something we're very proud of. Our teachers have been working very hard to provide some real life videos so that children and parents will know what to expect when our kids come back to school. So please get on there, peruse the portal. And again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call. we'll be updating that, if not daily, certainly as need be. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about why we decided on a phased approach to reopening. And I would start by saying our teachers spent a great deal of time really contemplating what this reopening could look like. There were many conversations with administration and really our full staff in order to talk about what would be best for students, what would be safest, and that was our approach. So looking at the phased approach, we thought about safety and how do we make sure that all of the health and safety components, the trainings, the changes in procedures and practices throughout the building, how do we make sure our students are aware of those and can respond to those accordingly. So the phased approach, which begins on September 8th, we'll have our youngest students, our K-3 students, coming back to school for in-person instruction. And I think one question that we keep getting in regard to our students coming back is, how will my student, how will my child be expected to wear a mask all day long? So that's one of the first things I would like to clarify. We have taken great pains, and I'm very appreciative of our custodial staff who have worked tirelessly in our classrooms, in our hallways, in all of our areas such as the cafeteria, and any area where students would typically have been able to congregate. They have really worked on ensuring that students' desks are 6 feet apart. In many cases, they are more than 6 feet apart, but they are at least 6 feet apart. In our hallways, we have markers that clearly show students where to stand. So again, they will at all times be 6 feet apart. And as the guidance says, when students are in the classroom and they're sitting at their desk, they may remove their mask. So we're really happy about that. Our teachers will, of course, also have the appropriate PPE. They will have masks and face shields and, as necessary, gloves. But when the teachers are 6 feet away from the students, they too can have a mask break. But as a teacher needs to go up and work with a student, that teacher will of course be wearing the appropriate PPE. And one of the guidelines we're really spending a lot of time on and encouraging is that no individuals are within 6 feet or closer than 6 feet for longer than 10 minutes. So that's a real that's a guidance that comes from the CDC and the Department of Health. So our teachers will be following that with our students. The other thing we'll talk about is, when we look at the phased approach, is the flexibility that this phased approach creates for us. So students will be learning every day utilizing Chromebooks as an instructional tool. So the Chromebooks will come to school with them in the morning, they will go home with them in the evening, and if there happens to be a time that we have to move to a different phase, let's say, we've been at phase 6, which has all students in-person learning, and something happens and we receive notification that we need to go to a remote model only, where all students are at home, We will be able to do that rather seamlessly because the students will already have their Chromebooks and they will be being instructed by our teachers in that fashion daily. So again, many of the situations that we are looking at have to do with health and safety guidelines, training and procedural requirements, changes in our school day, how we enter and exit the building. And although I'm going to hit up on it a little bit later, I can tell you I looked at a document that our teachers and administrators have been creating in regard to the successful student boot camp. It's phenomenal. And it will be an opportunity for our students to come in and this is going to replace that sixth grade, that traditional sixth grade orientation that we typically have. The exciting part is that this will be an orientation for all of the students in 4th through 12th grade. And it's going to walk through all of the procedures. There will be a tour of the building to show where classrooms are now located because physical spaces have changed. And it really is a tremendous opportunity to get the children acclimated or reacclimated to in-person learning. So I'm very hopeful that parents will sign students up. Let us know. We have transportation available, but our drivers certainly need to have that information ahead of time so we can know which students need transportation. But please consider sending your child to that orientation. So we are utilizing, again, this phased approach, and we are striving toward full in-person for all students beginning in phase 6, again, which begins October 5th through 9th. And another question that I've received a few times has to do with instruction. So first and foremost, our goal is for in-person instruction. We believe the governor, the DEC, the Department of Health has indicated that in New York State it is in fact safe for children to come back to school, provided the specific guidelines and procedures are followed. We have been very careful about addressing those needs for our children and our staff. So we are prepared to bring all students back. There will be some discussions about accommodations for more remote opportunities for synchronous live or asynchronous, which would be more of a taped model of instruction for students with medical or family members that have medical situations where children can't be in school safely. All of those individual situations will be addressed as such. If we have a note from a doctor that indicates that it's unsafe for a child to be in school, we will absolutely work with the family and address that. We will look at remote options. Some of those options may be live. For instance, if a child is receiving OT or PT, that teacher will be able to easily provide one-on-one support for a child, and so we're excited about that. Some of our other classrooms will do perhaps a flipped model, and others yet may follow more of a system like we did in the spring, where there's a scheduled class, or there's There's work that has to be done, and then the teacher will schedule meeting times and support times for the students. So we're really excited that we have a lot of flexibility in that, and we believe we'll be able to meet the needs of all of our students. This year, backpacks or book bags are permitted. Students will be required to have their own materials, will no longer be sharing or having communal materials in the classroom. Again, masks will be worn by all students when moving around the classroom or in the hallways, but masks may be removed when students are seated 6 feet apart. When it comes to transportation, with transportation we are looking for parental help. Currently, we are permitted to have 22 students on a 66 passenger bus. We have doubled our transportation routes, so we will be doing an elementary run, and then we will disinfect and clean the buses, and then send the buses out, and we will do then a secondary run. And I just wanted to share that we put this particular plan in place based on the survey results that came back from our families. And initially we had talked about trying to keep families together or trying to cluster by certain areas of the district. And what we learned, and truthfully what we suspected anyway from the beginning, was that childcare was going to be a very difficult situation for our families. So how we have addressed that is we have a longer day for our elementary students, and again, that's based on recommendations from pediatric groups who have indicated that it is best for our youngest students to be in person most often. So those students will be in school from 8 to 2:30. And then our older students will be in school from 9:30 to 1. And just for clarification's sake, that doesn't mean that our students that are in 7 through 12 will only have academic responsibilities between the hours of 9:30 and 1. Their teachers, there will be teachers who want to hold meetings prior to the kids getting on the bus, maybe as early as 8 o'clock or 8:30. And there most certainly will be teachers making connections with kids and even giving assignments or holding lessons following that time when the kids get home. So again, our job is to provide the best educational experience, and I can tell you our teachers have worked tirelessly coming up with flexible plans and really comprehensive plans to support our children, all of our children. So getting back to the transportation piece, we sent a survey out, and many parents at one time had indicated that they would be able to transport. I am going to request that we'll be putting some sort of a form on the portal, and we'll be asking parents to fill that out. If you can and will willingly volunteer to transport your children this year, again, that would be greatly appreciated. That's something that I can tell you, just a rough estimate, we have just doubling our runs is anticipated to increase our transportation expenses by just under $200,000 this year. So we have some significant expenses in that regard, and we very much want children in school. Temperature checks will be taken. We will have our bus drivers do temperature checks prior to children getting all the way on the bus. They'll step on the first or the second step, and the bus driver will take the temperature. So again, another important piece that I want parents to plan for is that children under 12, we are asking that they be accompanied to the bus by an adult or an older sibling. And that's simply because if the parent or if the child does in fact have a temperature that's above 100, they will not be permitted to get on the bus. And in doing so, we want to make sure that that child gets back to the house safely. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the parent is aware of the child's temperature. So that's something that will really help us out as well. A big change this year, and this came from the governor. There are no bus changes permitted this year, so this is very important for parents to understand in regard to child care. Once you have identified your place of pickup, there is one pickup and drop-off location, and students may not at any time ride on a different bus. So I know that that is challenging, it is going to be difficult for folks, but I want you to know that ahead of time so that you can make necessary preparations in that regard. So no busing changes. Unfortunately, you won't be able to call up and leave a message or send a note in that I won't be home from work, so please send my son or daughter to their grandmother's or send them to the babysitters. There will be no changing those locations. Our in-person instruction, again, we looked at those parent concerns that were voiced on the surveys. So our K-6 students will be attending from 8 to 2:30 p.m. and our 7-12 students from 9:30 to 1. There will be access to instructional staff from 8 to 3. And this is really important, I think, and this is probably, well, I would say it's definitely a change from the continuity plan that was followed. I know in the spring, there sometimes were connections with teachers later in the afternoon into the evening. We are asking that parents also be cognizant of the fact that teachers also have children and families. So please don't expect that if you send an email at 4 o'clock regarding a situation that it will necessarily be answered that evening. So please, we're asking our staff to try to answer any emails or return any phone calls within a 24-hour period as possible. And certainly if you try to make contact and something is vital that it's vital that you speak to someone, administrators will be in the building till at least 5 p.m. So you would be able to reach one of us, and you can always email us, and we most certainly can get back to you in the evening. Healthy Kids will once again be providing after-school child care until 6 p.m. If you get on the portal. There will be information on the portal regarding after-school childcare. One of our teacher assistants, Sarah Purdy, operates that program for Healthy Kids, and oftentimes we have one or two retired school teachers that also help with that program, so it's a phenomenal option if parents are looking for childcare. I believe that there may also be an option for before school childcare if there is such a need. If your family is in need of before school childcare, you would want to contact my office, and we will look into that and see if we can't help with that as well. The district will be creating a Q&A document regarding questions that we receive. Some people have emailed questions. Right now, I don't see anything in the chat. If after the meeting ends, you think of questions or you'd like more details about a particular part of our plan, I would ask that you just email your question and we will get back to you as soon as possible. I do want to share also one more time that the 4 through 12 boot camp that the teachers have been working on with the administrators really is going to be very beneficial. They're calling it the Successful Student Boot Camp for a reason. Again, I looked at the program and what they're planning for each session, and it really is phenomenal. And I hope that all of our kids take advantage of it. I believe it will get them off to a great start this school year. So the dates and times, I'm quickly going to go down that. I believe the morning times on this document, I don't have that, Mr. Davis, if you have a specific morning time, but grade 12 will be on August 24th in the morning. Those times may be forthcoming very soon. Grade 11 will be August 24th as well in the PM. Grade 10 will be August 25th. And grade 9, August 26th. Grade 8, August 26th in the AM. Grade 8, August 26th in the PM. Grade 7, August 27th in the AM. Grade 6, August 27th from 12:30 to 3:30. And I think there are some change times for 4th and 5th grade, and we will make sure those times, that was a new inclusion, and so we'll make sure those times are posted in the portal for parents. Students who use Lyme transportation can be picked up and dropped off. But again, we need to know if you are looking for transportation on those days as soon as possible, so that we are prepared to line up our bus drivers and make sure we have an accurate list for the bus drivers. Mr. Davis, do you have anything you would like to add or question? We do have a question about a Chromebook, and I would say that if a Chromebook, if you have a Chromebook, I did email one community member as well that was asking about a Chromebook. If you have a Chromebook that is not working properly, you should call the school, let us know, and we will set up a time for you to bring the Chromebook and drop it off. We'll repair it or provide you with another Chromebook. Anything that you would like to add, Dr. Gianfagno or down.
Are you gonna discuss things like that?
No, not unless there's questions. We have all of the protocol. The protocol are found on the website under the assurance for the health department. So again, when parents are reviewing, if you have questions about a particular protocol or procedure, please just contact us and we will be happy to help you with that. So there is a message, and Mrs. Purdy, who also helps Mr. Gibo with the technology, she did indicate that Chromebooks do update themselves on their own. So we will absolutely address that. Anything from you, Mr. Baker? Okay, so there don't appear to be any additional questions. Again, I will ask that parents please contact us with any questions or concerns that you have. We are very excited about the reopening of school. We are prepared. We're getting ready for that special day, and we want you to feel comfortable, so please don't hesitate. There's no question that's off limits. Please contact us with any question or concern you have, and we'd like to try to address that with you. And again, our next meeting, our next public meeting will be scheduled on August 18th at 11 a.m. and we hope you'll join us. And if you have additional questions, please be sure to post them at that time. Let's see, here is a question. It says students can't change buses, but can be changed if they are taken to school by parents daily, or would there have to be a notice to make changes? I will have to look into that with the transportation department. I think my initial thought on that is this. If you sign up or if you decide to transport your child, we would ask that you transport your child for the year, because again, we can only have a certain number of students on each bus, 22 students, and once those lists are set, we will be unable to add additional students on those buses. So in the event that we had a bus that wasn't full, meaning didn't have 22 students, I think then at that point we could look and see if there were other families that then were requesting transportation. We could in fact keep a list and maybe pull from that list. If I did not answer your question fully, please email me and I will try to speak to you more privately on that. This question says, will high school students receive their schedules at boot camp?
That's our goal. We're still working on all of the schedules. We've condensed schedules, and we've also condensed the number of rooms. As Mrs. Morrison said, all of our elementary will be in the elementary hallway and upstairs. Our middle school will be in our new science wings, and our high school students will be in the basement and in the library in that area, and a few of them will be taking classes in the science rooms. So if we can, we will.
So the goal, I hope you heard that, the goal is that students will receive their schedules. Again, please understand that some of those schedules may have to change a bit depending on what happens as we move forward.
One of the things, again, that Mrs. Morrison said is that we all have clusters. The 6th grade will remain in the 6th grade room. 7th grade will be in 7th grade rooms all day. The teachers will come to the room. The 8th graders the same. And as much as possible, 9 through 12 will remain in rooms provided.
Here's another question regarding children in kindergarten through 2nd grade. The question says, are they going to be in school Monday through Friday in person, or is it going to be a hybrid model? So for kindergarten through 2nd, they are part of that 2nd phase, which is K-3, and they will be here in person from 8 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon. Let's see. There's another question about specific rules regarding bathroom use for young students. So the bathroom procedures are in fact being worked on. Bathrooms that are in the classroom, it is my understanding they will still utilize those. And our custodial staff, I can tell you, they're very prepared to do disinfection. They'll be going in. There aren't a lot of classrooms that have bathrooms, but those that do have bathrooms will in fact utilize those, and we will do the appropriate disinfection in between student use.
Also, cohorts of students are assigned to certain bathrooms. So there's a 7th grade bathroom, there's an 8th grade bathroom that is just for those students, so that cuts down the traffic in those areas. So that's just 2 examples, and the rest we have throughout the building.
There is a question about attendance. It says, will attendance be mandated? Attendance in school is absolutely mandatory. Teachers in the elementary will take attendance daily, and the secondary level absolutely, and actually I think the attendance is by class. And the same is true for our secondary students. So attendance is taken by class, and it's taken, it's a daily attendance as well.
Mrs. Morrison, it's also both in school, in person and virtual.
Yes, in person and virtual. So let's say we have a student at home, and the student has a medical excuse, and that student is on a hybrid model or a remote model. Attendance will be taken with that student as well. So yes, attendance is mandatory.
Attendance in our classes, if we go virtual, we will follow the same schedule for 6th through 12th grade. So depending on the time periods, the student is expected to be in attendance. Let's say it's a first period from 9:30 till 10 after 10. It will, if it's at virtual, they'll still be there, and they'll follow their schedule throughout the day.
Again, I just want to say if there's anyone that has asked a question and you still need more clarification, please do not hesitate to send an email. I'd be happy to answer that or forward it to one of our staff members or administrators that could answer that for you. So this question is, if high school kids start late, will classes start at 8:30 by hybrid? That's a great question. We are still finalizing some of those pieces. It's my understanding that high school students will in fact have some responsibilities in the morning prior to actually being in person at school. I think they're still working on exactly what that will look like, and it probably will differ from class to class. So there may be some classes that can provide more of a flipped model, so they might do, they might teach, they might give the students an opportunity to work when they're in a meeting session, but then there would be independent work or individual check-in times at other times during the day. So I guess the short answer is most likely there will be some times that students will have classes or at least responsibilities for their classes earlier than 10 o'clock and certainly later than 1 o'clock. So this question I will refer to our nurse. It says, if the child had a fever, do they need a note from the doctor to be able to go back to school?
So if they have the fever at home, right now, we do not need any notice from the doctor for them to return to school. If they are sent home from school with a fever, we will need a note clearing them from their doctor as well as a negative COVID test. And they would have to be symptom-free for 3 days before they would return.
Jennifer, did you hear that? And you can just type yes or no on there. It's hard for us to tell how the audio is coming across, so we're hoping that you can hear us accurately. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Another question, how will recess for younger students be managed? Again, another great question. I think that's something that we will be exploring as we slowly get back into in-person instruction. It absolutely will look different than it used to. There will be opportunities. For instance, students can use manipulatives or they might be able to bring in, and again, I'm going to let our teachers clarify this. Each classroom teacher will give specifics in regard to what is going to be permitted in their classroom. But unfortunately at this time, there won't be the same going out and everybody congregating on the playground. However, recess will probably look more like social distancing and going for a walk, or maybe even going out onto one of the ball fields, social distancing, hopefully a good 12 feet, and using hula hoops or doing yoga or something along those lines. So recess will look different, but absolutely we know how important it is to give kids a break throughout the day. There's a question about lunches. So in the morning, we'll talk a little bit about breakfast first. So when the kids come to school, once they have had their temperature checked, once they have been okay to come in the building, we'll have staff members in the lobby of the school, and children will be expected to social distance, and they will pick up a bagged lunch, or a bagged breakfast, excuse me, and they'll take that breakfast to their classroom. They'll have breakfast at their classroom. The lunches, we're still working out the specifics. So lunches will take place in the classroom. They'll eat their lunch in the classroom. What we have not finalized, or if we have finalized, I have not been made aware yet. I'll add that. We haven't really figured out how to get the lunches to the children. If it would be best to give them a little bit of a break and let them walk, of course, again, using social distancing and wearing their masks, walking to the cafeteria staff handing them their lunch, and then going back to their classroom to eat it. That's one option. Another option is we would have our staff members, our custodial staff, our cafeteria staff, all hands on deck, all of us delivering meals to the classrooms.
And I think you'll see a hybrid of that. I think you'll see some of the students going to the cafeteria picking up lunches and some delivered. That's
Okay,
what we
so-
were leaning towards.
So we'll probably do a little bit of both. And again, that's the wonderful aspect of this phased approach, because, you know, the staff was really cognizant that we don't know how some of these things are going to look until we try it. And so we're very excited to try it with smaller populations of children to make sure that we're getting things right safely.
If we have virtual instruction, lunches will also be, breakfast and lunches will be provided, and we'll have more information about that also.
Yes, that's true. Mr. Davis said remote learners will also have access to school meals. And if we're full remote, much like we did in the spring, we will also be providing those meals. Okay, it looks like we are at 7:30, and again, I'm going to say one more time, if you have questions, if you need further information regarding something that you asked about this evening or something else that was discussed, please email or call. If you can join us at the next session at 11 on August 18th, we would encourage you to do so if you have additional questions. Again, we're looking forward to having your children back at school safely. I know the staff they continue to work very hard every day in preparation. And again, if you have not signed your children up, or you have not indicated that you'll be sending your student to that successful student boot camp, I highly recommend that you do so. It is very important for students of all ages. So it's going to be, everything at school looks different, and the procedures will be different. So it's very important to send them. And the staff has worked very hard on this program. I thank you all for joining us this evening, and I look forward to answering your questions in the future and providing another overview. Thank you all.
Nice job.